Turner sounds the alarm. North Korean troops in Ukraine should trigger U.S. and NATO red line, drawing parallels to the third Antichrist and Donald Trump's era. Turner sounds the alarm. North Korean troops in Ukraine should trigger U.S. and NATO red line, drawing parallels to the third Antichrist and Donald Trump's era rep. Mike Turner, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, has raised a red flag over emerging reports that North Korean troops may have entered the battlefield in Ukraine to support Russia. Turner warns that this development should serve as a red line for the U.S. and NATO, urging decisive action before the situation spirals further. Drawing on history and current geopolitical tensions, Turner also highlights the troubling parallels to the rise of totalitarian regimes in past world wars, making the case for immediate intervention. A new axis of power, Russia, North Korea, and China. Turner's concerns echo warnings from history. In a world where authoritarian regimes form alliances, much like the Axis powers of World War II, the collaboration between Russia, North Korea, and potentially China signals a renewed global threat. These alliances can't help but stir echoes of the so-called third Antichrist mentioned in prophecies, which some interpret as a symbol of ultimate destruction and chaos in global conflicts. Just as past wars saw unchecked alliances of rogue states growing in power, the possibility of these three nations uniting presents a chilling scenario of history repeating itself. Turner argues that Russia has failed to learn from the lessons of the two previous world wars. Just as Germany in the 20th century aligned itself with other authoritarian powers, leading to widespread devastation, Russia today is walking a similar path by forging ties with North Korea and China. This, according to Turner, could lead to catastrophic consequences if not confronted by the West. Trump and modern nationalism, a warning from the recent past. The era of Donald Trump saw a significant shift in global politics, with his often favorable rhetoric towards Russian leadership raising eyebrows. Critics have pointed out that Trump's stance may have emboldened nations like Russia to pursue more aggressive actions. Turner's warning today about North Korea's involvement in Ukraine echoes the same concerns about unchecked authoritarianism gaining ground. While Trump's relationship with Russia was criticized for possibly weakening the international order, the current escalation involving North Korean troops in Ukraine underscores the long-term danger of allowing authoritarian regimes to thrive unchecked. The historical comparison to the rise of Nazi Germany and its alliance with fascist Italy and Imperial Japan is becoming harder to ignore. Just as the world underestimated Hitler's ambitions until it was too late, Turner warns that today's global powers may similarly underestimate the growing alliance between Russia, North Korea, and China. Russia's refusal to learn the new Germany. Russia's aggressive stance in Ukraine, backed by North Korean forces and possibly supported by China, mirrors the dangerous alliances that led to both world wars. Turner warns that, just like Germany in the past, Russia is on the verge of becoming the modern-day equivalent, a nation driven by expansionist and authoritarian ambitions, willing to disrupt global peace for power. The involvement of North Korean troops is a clear signal that Russia is not afraid to seek allies in unpredictable, isolated regimes, just as Hitler once did with his own unholy alliances. The third Antichrist, a prophetic parallel. Turner's alarm also taps into deeper fears rooted in historical and prophetic visions of global chaos. The third Antichrist prophecy, often interpreted as a symbol of a destructive force that leads the world into its final and most devastating war, resonates in today's political landscape. Some could draw comparisons between this prophecy and the current global dynamics, where Russia's aggression, China's growing dominance, and North Korea's unpredictability form a perfect storm for potential global conflict. The question Turner asks is whether Russia, with its new alliances, could be laying the groundwork for a new form of totalitarianism, much like Hitler's Germany did before World War II. If so, the stakes for global security could be as high as ever, and the consequences of inaction could be disastrous. NATO and the USA critical crossroads. In light of these developments, Turner is calling on the US and NATO to act decisively. The presence of North Korean troops on Ukrainian soil should be treated as a direct threat to global stability. If Russia is allowed to continue unchecked, Turner fears we may be witnessing the early stages of a conflict that could draw parallels to the most devastating wars in human history. Like the alliances of Nazi Germany, Russia's partnerships with North Korea and China must be met with forceful opposition before they become too powerful to contain. Conclusion: Turner's warning draws on both historical lessons and modern geopolitical realities. The involvement of North Korean troops in Ukraine, combined with Russia's increasingly authoritarian behavior and alliances with China and North Korea, is a dangerous escalation. If the U.S. and NATO fail to act, we may be witnessing the rise of a new world order that mirrors the darkest chapters of history. Turner's message is clear: the time to draw a red line is now, before Russia's ambitions become an unstoppable force akin to the totalitarian regimes of the past, risking a future conflict as devastating as the world wars.